In 1984, Ronald Reagan won re-election by such a huge margin. He won 49 states. Ronald Reagan that year even won Wisconsin as a Republican, which is almost statistically impossible. Democrats always win Wisconsin in presidential elections. Since Democrats lost that one year in 1984 when they lost everything, they have won Wisconsin every year since. When the Democrats lost the next election in 1988, they still won Wisconsin. Michael Dukakis won in Wisconsin in 88. In 1992, Bill Clinton and the Democrats won Wisconsin. In 1996, same again, Democrats won Wisconsin. In 2000, when the Democrats lost, when George W. Bush beat Al Gore, still, Al Gore, nevertheless, won Wisconsin. In 2004, when George W. Bush beat John Kerry, still, John Kerry won in Wisconsin. In the last 6 presidential elections for the last 24 years, Democrats have won Wisconsin in presidential elections every single time. This year, however, Republicans say they're going to win it. At least so said Mitt Romney today.
We're going to win Wisconsin. We're going to get the White House.
The implicit case that Republicans are making this year about them having good chances in Wisconsin, the implicit case is not so much that Mitt Romney is a perfect candidate for trying to win over a state that hasn't gone Republican in 24 years. It's not so much about Mitt Romney as an individual candidate. It's that Republican politics are getting very Wisconsin-y overall. When Mr. Romney took the stage in Janesville, Wisconsin today, he was shoulder to shoulder with the chair of the Republican Party, Reince Priebus, who is from Wisconsin. And there was Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who just survived a statewide recall campaign 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, there was Congressman Paul Ryan there, the Republican budget chairman. Mr. Romney has endorsed Mr. Ryan's Kill Medicare budget as his own. He's also started hiring Paul Ryan budget staffers as his own policy advisors. For the Republican Party right now, Wisconsin is not just a place to try to win that they usually don't win. It's not a place where they think this particular Republican presidential candidate has a particular appeal and therefore a particularly good shot at winning. For the Republican Party, it's not about that. For the Republican Party, Wisconsin is important this year because Wisconsin all of a sudden is what Republicans stand for. Wisconsin this year is where Republicans are getting all their ideas.
He wants to hire more government workers. He says we need more firemen, more policemen, more teachers. Did he not get the message of Wisconsin? The American people did. It's time for us to cut back on government and help the American people.
I think at the national level, we can learn a lot from this guy. You know that?
This guy, Republican Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin. The message of Wisconsin, according to the Republican Party's presidential nominee this year, is it's time to cut firemen and policemen and teachers. That's the message of Wisconsin. And he says the message of Wisconsin is now the national message for the Republican Party. Here's the thing, though. If the big Republican idea this year is cutting firefighters and teachers and police officers, it's shrinking the public sector, firing people with public sector jobs. We're already doing that now. And you know what? It's not helping. This is a chart of public sector jobs in the last 4 recessions. We've organized the recessions by president. So what's the difference between the current fragile recovery from this current recession and the better recovery from the previous 3 recessions? Well, first of all, this recession was worse. But second of all, in the previous 3 recessions, policymakers let public sector employment keep growing, which frankly helped with the recovery. President Obama has proposed doing that this time, too, with his Jobs Act, right? But Republicans in Congress have said no, along with some conservative Democrats. And so in trying to recover from this recession, we have been doing something differently than we did in previous ones. In trying to recover from this recession, we have been hampered by a public sector that is still firing people, cops and teachers and firefighters. We've been trying to recover from a recession while firing people in the public sector, all the while wondering why things aren't getting better like they did in previous recessions. When Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, writes about this dynamic right now, he calls it the Republican economy that we're in. And that, of course, drives Republicans nuts. But he means it, and he says that it is a huge, huge problem, not just politically, but for the country. He says, overall, the picture for America in 2012 bears a stunning resemblance to the great mistake of 1937, when FDR prematurely slashed spending, sending the U.S. economy into the second leg of the Great Depression. In FDR's case, however, this was an unforced error since he had a solidly Democratic Congress. In President Obama's case, Much, though not all, of the responsibility for the policy wrong turn lies with a completely obstructionist Republican majority in the House. Paul Krugman writing about the first depression, but you know what he says we are in right now is another depression. He says it's not a recession now, it's a depression. He does say it's beatable, though. He says it's beatable politically and economically. And he says that understanding why Republicans are blaming everything on policemen and firefighters now is the key that unlocks the door to making things better. Nobel Prize winner Paul Krugman is here tonight for the interview. Stay tuned.